Turtle. I am live with no script and no idea what I'm going to talk about today. So I'm going to bring up my YouTube studio so that we get going here. And then we're going to talk about random things. I'm going to bring up a file so that I have some talking points. And so I'm a little bit behind in that I didn't create my YouTube live that I would normally create beforehand. And so we're just sort of winging it here today in that I have moved my RV this past week. I mentioned this last week that I bought some land and I put my RV on the land. And I am going to try to find the green screen on here. Okay, we've got green screen. And so now I am going to figure out how to do a green screen. And there you go. So this is across my back fence, and there's a pond back there. So at least now I have a view of a pond, even though I no longer have a view of a lake. And so I'm bringing up my, there you go. I have my YouTube studio. Hi Tina, how you doing? I have my YouTube studio going here for this live. Tina, I said something last night that I agreed with what you said, and then he didn't read it. So I don't know I can't remember exactly what it was. But anyway, there was something you said last night that I agreed with. But normally on here, I have sort of talking points where I go through and I discuss things that have to do with finance, early retirement, and let's see, like saving money, building wealth, and retiring early. That's my channel. And that's what my channel is all about. But because my life has been changing, in the recent past, I am now just getting here, and I had a lot of students. I have 5 classes going on right now. And so I'm catching up on my grading because of my RV move. And I did not get to set up my live ahead of time, what I would normally do. And last week I was in my car, so I wasn't even, at the RV last week. And so everyone said that they liked these vertical lives better than my horizontal lives. And so little backstory on the horizontal lives. Oh, well, I'm glad that at least you read it, Tina Mo, so at least you saw that I agreed with something you said. I forget what it was. It was towards the end of Chill's live. And so, anyway, the little backstory, and now I've lost where I was telling you guys a backstory, but the backstory is that I was told that if I do a horizontal live, and it took me a while to learn how to do a live with my phone in horizontal mode, which I've been doing for some months now. The theory is that, oh, hi, it's Sea Life in New York City. How you doing? Thank you for coming. Thank you for being here. I was told if I did this horizontal live on my phone, it would be easier for me to repurpose the videos and cut clips from them and paste them together and make another long form video. So if I'm ever monetized, or whenever I get monetized, then I will be able to create more content based on cutting up my lives. So I started doing these horizontal lives some months ago. I have never cut a video up and repurposed it over all this time because I just don't have time. One of the reasons that I do this every single Friday at 10:15 Central Time is because I'm retired. and I want to spend my time being retired. I want to do YouTube twice a week, but most of all, I want to be retired. I want to walk around my yard and pick up sticks. And that's not out here. Out here on this land, I don't have a whole bunch of trees. So I don't have a whole bunch of sticks to pick up. But that's my plan in retirement, is walk around the yard and pick up sticks and then burn them in a burn barrel. I know it's an exciting life that nobody else thinks is exciting, but for me, it's a dream come true. And so if you come from where I came from, this is good. This is good. I don't need a whole lot of money to live. I just don't. As you all know, I'm trying to live on $900 a month, which is what's left over in my pension from the federal government, a tiny pension. We mentioned getting demoted and all that kind of stuff, but I got a tiny pension. And after the house bills are paid, I have $900 a month. And so I try to live on that $900 a month. Now, is that all the money that I bring in? No. I bring in money from teaching. I'm starting to have cash flow from my rentals. Just barely, a little bit of cash flow. But it's going to increase over time. It's just going to increase. So I have a little bit of cash flow from the rentals. I have my teaching income, which is variable, because right now I'm teaching 5 classes, but one of my schools didn't give me very many classes this year at all. Last year, they had me loaded up with classes all the time. This year, I've gotten like 3 classes the whole year. I mean, it went down dramatically. And that's the thing about teaching that people don't understand, is it's up and it's down. It's not guaranteed income. I have one school that pretty much is pretty stable, and I get 6 classes a year, 6. But that's it. That's their limit, is to give you 6 classes per year. Hi, La. La is here from Wallet Watching, and she is a new YouTube creator who is just killing it, right? I've been on YouTube for well over a year. I'm still not monetized. She did it in 90 days. And that's just fabulous. She looked and studied YouTube. I didn't know anything about YouTube for about the first year. So really, I've only been on YouTube seriously, for the past 6 months or so. However, my point is that I didn't know anything about how to be a YouTube creator. I've watched YouTube for many years, but did not know what it takes to be a YouTube creator. I thought you just put videos out there and people just find you. I didn't know anything about analytics. I didn't know about that thing in there where you look at when is your audience online, so that you can post things when your audience is mostly there. I didn't know. So I've learned all of these things. And that came along with doing the horizontal lives. And so I did the vertical live last week. Oh, Hippies, Puppies, and Kittens is here? Oh, thank you for coming. Love her channel. She does cash stuffing, and she does all of these challenges. See, as you can tell, I watch all of these people who are paying off debt and who are trying to become more financially responsible, which is me. I have been watching debt payoff videos for more than 10 years. And I pay off all my debt, and then I go back into debt. And then I pay off all my debt, and then I go back into debt. Mostly I go back into debt to buy more real estate. But even if the debt is secured, it's still debt, right? So I have friends that say, if it's unsecured debt, that's not good, right? You only want to have secured debt that's secured by something real, some asset. Well, I am now at my age, in my mid-60s, trying to get out of debt totally. I've sort of changed. I'm moving from the accumulation phase to the wealth preservation phase. And that's just where my life is. As we get older, our lives change. So I'm no longer chasing, right? Ever since I came out of the homeless shelter, I have been chasing money because I thought if I have some amount of money or a stable job, I will not be homeless again. Well, I finally have hit that point where I have enough assets that I would have to go through a lot of assets in order to become homeless again. So hopefully chances of that are slightly, almost zero with the assets that I have. However, I'm still building wealth. So it's not that I've hit this plateau in retirement and I've just stopped. Some people have retirement assets such that they can stop working and everything. And they just live off of the income from their assets. That's not me. I retired with very little money, very little assets. And so in retirement, I'm still building. And so I bought a bunch of properties this year, and I hadn't bought any in a couple of years. But I said, that's it, I'm done. I have enough rentals, I don't need any more. And my friends laugh at me because every time I say that, I turn around and say, oh, well, there was a deal over here, and I just bought this deal. I got it at a really good price. However, going into 2026, and I believe I mentioned this last week, and I just spilled coffee on my shirt, so now we have stains on the shirt. That's a YouTube Live. So I mentioned this last week in that, if you have a question, put it in the chat and I'll try to address it. If it has to do anything with me and finances or paying off debt or any of that stuff, early retirement. I mentioned this last week. I keep going sideways, and this is why I have a script normally when I get on the YouTube Live, is because I will go left and then I'll go right and then I'll go left again. And what I said last week was I'm not buying any more properties, especially in 2026. This piece of land that I just bought, I wanted to buy it to move my RV from the lake because at the RV park where I was in, don't forget to hit live, or don't forget to hit like and subscribe. I forget that all the time in a live. So as you all can tell, even though I've been doing lives for a little while and I was terrified to do these lives, so that's why I didn't do them for a long, long time, I still forget things and I still mess up the lives. So anyway, last week I said I'm not buying any properties in 2026. It's strictly debt payoff mode. Also, the other thing that I'm doing now in conjunction to paying off debt is building up a prudent reserve. That has come to light recently. Now, I knew that for many, many years, that I should have a prudent reserve or an emergency fund, as some people call it. I was just too busy trying to build wealth to save money, if that makes sense. And so if you are chasing every dollar and you're trying to double and triple your money, you're not saving. You're just accumulating. And so, as I mentioned, I'm done with the accumulation phase of building wealth. Now I am in the preservation phase, meaning that I want to make sure I don't do something to lose the wealth that I built. So therefore, I now need an emergency fund. I have lines of credit so that if an emergency comes up, I can dip into my line of credit and then I just pay it back with my teaching income. Well, that's been my strategy in the past. That's not the Dave Ramsey strategy. That's not what the gurus tell you is the perfect life to live. I've just done the best I could do. And so therefore, I never compare my finances with someone else's because I'm only doing the best that I can do at any given time. And if that means dipping into my lines of credit in order to get me by through one or two paychecks, then that's what I do. Now, is my future goal to have money saved up so that I do not have to go into my lines of credit? Yes. So I'm trying to get better my way, not everyone else's way. And therefore, one of the things that we talk about here on this channel, and my friend Life with T, she mentions this, personal finance is personal. You can't do it the way someone else does it. We'll take La, for example. Her and her husband sold a car, but they had to take out a loan to get that car sold back to the dealership, but it lowered their debt. See, and that video that she did on that went viral, of course, because people make unconventional decisions that go against everyone's advice in their personal situation. And that's why I loved that. I love for everybody to do the best they can do. If all you can do is save $5, save $5. If all you can do is save $1, because I have family members who are on a fixed income. If all you can do is save $1, save $1. How did I start? I saved $1. And so, also make sure that you type FIRE, just the word FIRE, F-I-R-E, in the chat, and it will put your channel out there. Oh, Q is here. Hi, Q. Thank you for typing FIRE and putting your channel out there. Q has me exercising, right? So I watch different channels for different reasons. And, I need to, my A1C is up, okay? So my diabetes is a little bit running out of control here. And so I need more exercise. And I went to my nutritionist yesterday, and my nutritionist told me that after I eat, I need to get up and move for 5 or 10 minutes to help lower my A1C. Now, I am on a monitor, as you all know who watch my update videos at the end of the month. I buy my glucose monitors. And because I'm on the Freestyle Libre 3 now, it's constant monitoring. I can actually watch YouTube videos and see my blood sugar at the same time on my phone. Okay, that's what a nerd I am, okay? Because I'm serious. I am serious. I have not been on medication. I've had pre-diabetes for 12 to 15 years now, and I have not been on medication yet. I did have to get on medication for my cholesterol because I tried for a year to bring down my cholesterol, eating vegetables, having more fiber to try and unclog my arteries, that kind of thing. None of it helped. So I'm on a small dose of medication for my cholesterol, but I'm still not on medication for my pre-diabetes. And so I'm trying to keep it in the pre-diabetes phase. And I've done that for 12 to 15 years by diet and exercise. So what happened is that my nutritionist says that I've been stressed the last couple months. And that is what has led to my blood sugar going up. And of course, I have been eating the wrong foods. So let's just be honest. If you eat the wrong things, which I know better, I know not to eat these certain foods. Well, I've been eating them. And so now that I've moved my RV to a piece of land that I own, and I no longer am paying rent for a spot at the lake, right? Because I'm an owner. I am not a renter. I haven't rented, well, I rented the place at the lake for the past year or so, but I haven't rented in over 30 years. Once I bought my first place over 30 years ago, I've only owned properties, and I've owned my home and I've owned my land. So I am happy that I bought a piece of land where, as you can see, this pond, I mentioned this earlier in the live, this pond is across my back fence. So I get to look at this pond, across the fence. I just didn't show a picture of the fence. But it's just a little like barbed wire fence kind of a thing. It's not like a big privacy fence. But anyway, this is the land that my neighbor owns. Now, my neighbor has 66 acres back there, right, of this land. I only have 3 acres on the land that I have here. But the point is, it's my land, right? And I'm paying the mortgage on this land. So that's what I love. And Q is saying that she's owned her home. I believe that's what she's saying, that she's owned her home for a lot of years, or owned a home anyway. And I don't like giving my money to someone else. I just don't. And so I prefer to own my own property. And so we own the RV, I own the land, I'm happy. That's the short version of everything I'm trying to tell you. Is this week I'm happy. Earlier this morning, the guy came and installed my internet. So my phone is on this new internet. As some of you know that have been on my lives before out at the lake, I couldn't even use the Wi-Fi company's internet at the lake on my phone because it kept cutting out in the middle of my live. However, I have used this company's internet before, and so we're testing it out this morning to see if my phone being on this company's internet is good. And so far, it's fabulous. I have 1 gigabyte internet. Because I teach online, I want the fastest internet possible. And so you might ask, and I'm going to tell you anyway, what have I been doing this past week that I've been here without having internet? Well, I have a hotspot. And so it's a Verizon hotspot that I keep in the RV just in case of emergencies. And so I've been using the hotspot for the week, and now I don't have to use the hotspot anymore. Although I will keep it and keep paying for it, because when I travel, I take the hotspot with me. If for some reason the hotel that I'm staying in has spotty Wi-Fi or I can't get on, I've got my hotspot. And also my cell phone has a hotspot. So I have 50 gigabytes with my Verizon hotspot and another 10 gigabytes with my cell phone. That will get me through grading homework and doing whatever it is I need to do. Because these schools are paying me to be online and available. I can't say, well, I'll come back in a few days and answer students' emails. That doesn't work, right? I have to be there, or this is personal, as a teacher. Because I was a student for 18 years, as an adult, I know what students want. And so I'm trying to be the kind of teacher that I wanted when I was a student. And so that means being available. I had one teacher. Here we go, story time off to the left. Here goes Daryl off to the left with a story. I had a teacher one time who disappeared for 3 weeks. Nobody in the class could figure out where is the teacher and where is our homework or anything for 3 weeks. And then this guy just pops up out of nowhere and says, "Hey, I'm here." And I was like, if I ever become a teacher, that will never happen to me. And I can tell you, the colleges I work for, some of them track how often you're in the course room. And I believe it's sometimes maybe 48 hours that you could be out, like let's say you take a weekend off or something like that. Well, I am in every single day. Now, I could be in an hour of the day, but I am in the course room every single day. And if it's a busy day, or let's say I'm out riding my motorcycle with my friends, I may check the classrooms in the morning. And then when I get home at like 11 o'clock at night, I will check the classrooms again. So it's not that I can't go out and have fun. And I can't go out and get on my motorcycle and go, "Hi, Tiger, great to see you. I was talking about my A1C being up earlier." And Tiger is doing videos about his A1C daily. He's doing daily videos. Well, I am monitoring my A1C daily along with him. See, what I find, and you guys are a myriad of different channels here. I watch all of you for different reasons because you're all my accountability buddies. All of you. You know, for Q, my accountability is exercise and walking, right? For other people, it is paying off my debt. That's my accountability. You know, Tiger is one of the few people who I've actually talked to on the phone that I've met on YouTube. Very few people, very few. But he is fabulous. He and his wife retired early, which I just love. You know, I love an early retirement, if you guys can't tell, you know, because my early retirement came at just the right time. You know, I was 58 and a half, and with the federal government, you can retire at 58 and a half and take delayed retirement, but not get your pension money until you're 60. It's only within that year and a half or less that you can keep your health care. And that was the key for me. See, when I found out if I don't get paid for a year and a half, now I also had to pay the federal government's part of my health care. So in total, it was, let's say, $750 a month. I can't really remember. Hi, T. Good morning. I've already talked about you, T, about how personal finance is personal. That's what I shared about you. So anyway, with the federal government, and see, the point is a lot of people do not know this. I am amazed because, one, I didn't know it. I went to lunch with a friend. Here's how blessed I am. I went to lunch with a friend the day after I quit my job, right, and applied for retirement, right? I applied for immediate retirement at 58 and a half. I would have lost 20% of my retirement by doing that. I just happened to go to lunch with a friend the next day, and he said, "You go back and you tell them that you want delayed retirement, not immediate retirement, and that you just want to quit. That's it. You just quit." And so I did that. And because I did that, I learned about this delayed retirement. And I paid $750 a month for a year and a half, which came out to something like $8,000. Okay, so I looked at what is the cost of $8,000 now as opposed to getting my full pension and not losing 20% of my pension for the rest of my life. What is that cost of $8,000? Now, remember, I had my teaching income. So at the time, I was making about $80,000 a year with the federal government. My teaching income was $80,000 a year. So once my teaching income matched my federal government income, I could pull the ripcord. So I lived on my teaching income for the next year and a half. But I had to have faith that they were going to give me classes. And I had been at some of these schools for about 5 years, so I was fairly confident that I was going to get classes. But you don't know. As I mentioned, this year I'm getting very few classes. And so it's gone down. I had 4 colleges when I quit my job. I'm down to 3 colleges now. And so it's gone down from $80,000 a year or more. It was sometimes going up more than $80,000, but now it's down to maybe $60,000. However, because I am frugal and I'm trying to live on $900 a month, I'm okay, right? I do not need $80,000, $100,000 in retirement because I just don't spend that kind of money. Now, having said that, let's all be honest here. I will drop $8,000 on my motorcycle. Okay, I'll do that. Okay, I put a sound system on that thing, I put lights on that thing. That is my baby. Okay, I will drop some money on my motorcycle. So that's being honest. But every day, I don't spend that much money. I am just not an everyday spender. And so you'll see that. I was a little bit higher than I wanted to be this month in my spending in my end of month, end of October video, but that's because of this move. Moving my RV, buying this land. It was a very spendy month, okay? And so this has been a very spendy year because I bought a lot of properties. I didn't think I was going to buy any this year. One came and then another came and another. It really got crazy. And so this has been a spendy year. 2026, not so much. We are cutting off the spending valve. See, and so I'm asking everybody in my YouTube community to keep me accountable, right? Because I want to pay down debt, save money into an emergency fund. And let's talk about that. I've never had an emergency fund. As bad as this may sound, it's horrifying to some of my friends here, whom I'm not going to mention. It's horrifying that I have not saved money. I get that. I get that. But I have survived. I've had enough different income streams that when an emergency comes up, I'm okay. I just pull money from over here and I use it over here, or I get on my credit card and I use it over there, and then I pay the credit card off. So my credit card is either zero or maxed out. Those are the only two things on my credit card. So I try to keep it at zero for as long as possible. And oh, Robert Chandler came in. He said his 4-year-old granddaughter takes all their savings. And I get that. You know, I have grandchildren whom I'm trying to make a better life for. So, you know, yeah, I didn't have savings before, but I'm starting now. So as you guys see on my community post, I'm posting my Transfer Tuesdays. So I've been putting $50, right? We start small. That's what I believe, is we start from wherever we are. And so for me, I'm starting small. And I'm just building the muscle of putting away $50, which is an amount I figure I won't miss. And that's what I recommend to people. If you're going to do something, make it easy. Don't make it painful, because if you make it painful, you won't continue doing it. So I'm easing into the savings. And now I have over $1,400. I've never had that much before in my life. I know, I'm a guy in my 60s, you know, and that's all I have saved. Okay, I get it. But here's my point. As I can put away $100, as I can put away $1,000, that's what I will do. But the muscle is starting now. And with my level of assets, I need a huge, which I never even thought about before, I need a huge emergency fund. That's just being responsible. It's just being responsible. And so I am now at my age starting to grow up and starting to take responsibility for my life. Hi, Julie. Julie is here from Happy on Monday. She has another early retirement channel that just blew up. You know, everybody's channel is blowing up but mine, which is okay, because my channel is not about creating retirement income. It's not about paying off debt. That's not what my channel is about. My channel is about enjoying life, right? In early retirement. And I love Julie's channel because she retired early and she's enjoying life. And she talks a lot about just how enjoyable early retirement is. And I can't agree more. If you get a chance to retire early, do it. If you can set up your finances in such a way that it allows you, and it doesn't mean you have to have a ton of money. I retired without a ton of money. I only had 300,000 in my 401k, which for the government is called the TSP. So I sort of use those terms interchangeably for people that are not in the federal government. But I only had 300,000. And I probably lost half of that, if you guys can believe this. I lost half of that 300,000 loaning money out on investments. Well, that's life. However, while I was loaning that money out over the past years, I don't know how many years now, I have been building wealth in my other streams of income so that half of that 300,000 is now a very small part of my overall net worth. So I haven't mentioned net worth before in this video. So I'm going to tell you, if you do not know your net worth, calculate your net worth. It could be negative. That's okay. I watch people on YouTube with a negative net worth get themselves to zero and then start building a positive net worth. So regardless of your net worth, know where the number is. And your net worth is not a calculation of your worth. So you don't want to connect the two. My net worth has nothing to do with my personal validation. What it is, it's what you track. And, oh, trust me, Q, it's blowing up. Trust me. I watch a lot of people who say their channel isn't blowing up, and they blow right past me, right? And I think that I'm up in the 800s, right? Now, I only had 300 for like a year because, like I said, I didn't know how YouTube worked or anything, and I wasn't doing any of the recommended things because I just didn't know. Well, now, and I'm sorry, I have sniffles here. Even though I took my allergy medicine this morning, we still have sniffles. So I didn't know. So my channel had 300 subscribers. I've picked up 500 in the last 5-6 months, whatever the case may be. But again, my channel is not for everybody. My channel is for people who want to pay off their debt, who want to build wealth, and who want to retire early and enjoy life. And like I said, this is not about having $5 million in the bank. A lot of people do, and I watch a lot of channels where people have millions and millions because they started saving when they were in their 20s. Well, that's not my story. I didn't start saving for retirement until 35 or 40. So really, I did most of my wealth building in 10 years. And what that meant was I didn't spend money. Okay, that's just me. Other people go out, they can buy the car and buy this and buy that. Not me. I did not spend money. And it's not that I haven't made financial mistakes, right? And it might have been 2007. I bought my motorcycle, which is brand new at the time, and a brand new car in the same year. Because what did I say to myself? Oh, I can make the payments. My government job is stable. Right? I believed that. Never believe that your job is stable. Ever. Because after that, I got demoted and my pay went down. I made 6 figures for a very short amount of time. And then my pay went down. And for the rest of my time in the federal government, my pay was down and I had to go out and work my side hustle, which was getting my PhD and becoming a teacher. That was all my side hustle. To make back the money that the federal government took when I got demoted. So my story is different than other people's stories. Okay? I didn't start in my 20s and just save money out of every paycheck into my 401k, into my 50s and 60s, and then have, $7 million and be able to retire. Not my story. I've had to hustle. And when I mean hustle, I'm talking about when I finished my PhD, I applied for 100 jobs teaching in 1 month. I stayed up all night. I did not go to bed until I finished that application for that teaching job. And did it all work? I don't know. I've had about 7 different colleges or so. Some fired me, some I fired, right? One job came up to me, the one that I'm no longer working with, they came up to me 11 months after I applied for that job. I got an email one day saying, hey, we have a class starting in 2 weeks. Would you like to teach this class? And here's how much we're going to pay you. I said, this is some kind of scam. It can't be real that I'm getting this email from this school saying we have a class starting in 2 weeks. Well, I was with that school for years. And I'm very proud because it was an HBCU school. So I was with that school, but that was an email that just came one day while I was sitting at work. And I said, why, yes, I can take a class that starts in 2 weeks. You betcha I can, because I needed money. And when you need money, you do what you have to do to get the money. I was all about the hustle. I was all about the hustle. Now, because I built my assets up so that my assets are creating the money, I don't have to hustle. I can go out, like I said, and pick up sticks. And I can do that. And to me, that is the joy of retirement. For some people, it's baking, it's gardening. Whatever is your joy, do your joy. My other joy is traveling. And I am missing what's happening in the chat. Oh, Shadow Scout Swede is here. Hey, Shadow. He is a survivalist. And so, if you all know me, I am a minimalist, and I know I can survive with very little money. And so, I watch him to learn about different things, like there are these tents, or there are these flashlights, or there are these lighters that will light your stuff, regardless of the temperature. I learn from everyone. And so that's the one thing. People say, oh, you have a PhD. You think you know everything. No. The biggest thing you learn when you graduate with your PhD is how much you do not know and how much in the world is out there for you to learn. And that's what people don't understand. I am a lifelong learner. I learn from my students in every class that I teach. And this is why I ask my students to always bring me the latest research on the topic. Because one, I want to stay abreast of any new developments that are coming out there. I was teaching AI years ago because AI was the coming thing, and my students were bringing this out. Hey, AI is the coming thing. Now I am starting to invest in AI. So we're going to turn this and bring this back around to money. And I have a comment here. Oh no, it says if you have a question. That's if you have a question. But Shadow Scout Swede says, if you apply for a job and you get an email 11 months later, isn't that a little too late? Well, no, Shadow, because here's the story behind that. When I first got my PhD and I first graduated, right, which just happened to be October, and it happened to be today. Today is the day of my PhD. How about that? Is this an anniversary or what? But at any rate, I'd never thought about that till just now. But I applied for 100 jobs within a month of getting my PhD. So from October through November, I applied for 100 teaching jobs. Now, some of them I got. Some of them were local. Some of them were online. However, one of those 100 came back to me 11 months later. So I had already been teaching. And so this was just additional income on top of the income that I was earning. So I took it at 11 months later, because I had other jobs. But all of that allowed me to max out my 401k or TSP with the government I was able to max that out at the time of 25,000 a year because of all these teaching jobs. And that's what built up my TSP to 300,000 when I retired. So I didn't have anywhere close to 300,000 at the time that I got my PhD. Nothing close. I maxed that thing out for 3 years. And that's what built up my retirement account. Now, think about the 3 years that I'm talking about here. Before I quit my job, I made sure I could live on my teaching income without my federal government income. So I will never tell people, and there's some people on YouTube, oh, quit your job, quit your job. No. And while I want you to quit your job, I also want you to have an alternative stream of income. And as Dave Ramsey says, make sure you practice living on that alternative stream of income. If your alternative stream is YouTube, practice living on just your YouTube income. Don't just quit your job and say, well, I'm going to go into YouTube full time, right? Because YouTube is up and down from what I see of other people. Not to mention the people who get their channels taken, for whatever reason. So I would not rely on YouTube. Now, some people have YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. They have all these different social medias that they have income from. So if one goes down, they could rely on another stream of income. It doesn't matter what your streams of income are. Make sure that you can rely on those. Because as I mentioned, my teaching income went down this year. However, my rental properties are starting to have cash flow. And I always have my $900 of pension every month as my stable, known source of income. I may not have cash flow from my rentals every single month. I may not have teaching income every single month. It's been pretty consistent since I retired. However, this past August, I had the entire month of August off for the first time in like 10 years. So, my point is that life is changing. So I'm shifting from relying on teaching income, which I have been for the last 10 years. I've been relying on my teaching income to relying on my pension. And hopefully, eventually relying on rental income. And the past couple of years, it's just been getting a little bit better and a little bit better and a little more stable and reliable. I'm still paranoid because of all the months where my rental income punched me in the gut. And I had to take money either on my credit card or my line of credit or from my teaching income and backstop my rental mortgage payments. Okay, I'm still gun shy from that I don't rely on my rental income. Every month, if it comes in and I have cash flow, I'm happy. But I never expect cash flow. Because when you're starting in real estate, it's tough. It's tough. I mean, unless you pay cash for your property, which I didn't. I put 15% down. So it's tough in real estate in the beginning. But I have been in real estate. My first property was more than 20 years ago. And I held that for 18 years before I sold it. But it took me a lot of years before I could figure out how to get a second property and a third property. I just didn't know. And that's my point, is I am constantly learning. See, I don't know everything. I will share with you on my channel what I've learned, about an HSA or about retiring early or about multiple streams of income. All of these things I've learned over the years. So I'm going into the chat. So Shadow Scout Suite says that he is more of a prepper, but survivalist works too. He is. He's a prepper. And I did not know, Shadow, if prepper was like a term that people don't like. I don't know. I don't know about, like, some people think, well, it's a conspiracy theory or this or that. And so my goal is, oh, Skywalker is here. This may be the first time I've seen you on the live. He's working hard, okay? He does lawn care. He's got his own business. This man works hard and puts me to shame, okay? So I watch his channel because it motivates me to do better. So let's go back to Shadow for a second. Is I didn't say prepper because I did not want to offend anyone. So I said survivalist. So I don't know. Sometimes I say things that are not politically correct. And then I get yelled at later, and I was like, I didn't know. Because I'm an old guy. And it used to be okay to say a certain thing, but nowadays it's not okay. So, and Lisa J is here. Hi, Lisa J. She's my new person in that I am diversifying from my real estate. As you all know, I got a lot of real estate. I'm diversifying into the stock market. And so she gives me a lot of stock market updates. And I'll also say my sister-in-law, who does crypto, she does options, she's in the stock market. Like Lisa, she's into some individual stocks. And so Lisa reminded me that like a year ago, I said, oh, I'm going to buy this one ETF, right? Well, a year later, I still hadn't done it. Still hadn't done it because I'm not a big stock market person and I forget to put money in my brokerage account so that I can buy stocks. So Lisa reminded me of this ETF that I've been saying I was going to buy for a year, and it's made a ton of money over the last year that I didn't buy it. There you go. See? So also, my sister-in-law just popped up the other day and said, here are 3 or 4 more stocks that you ought to look at. And some are in the AI and that kind of thing. And so I'm really trying to invest in AI, but I'm also investing in companies that I use because that's what Warren Buffett says. He says, invest in things you know, invest in companies you use. Oh, we're starting to buffer. We are starting to buffer. So this live made it 52 minutes, and we are not going to be on much longer. Hi, Tiff. Boy, now Tiff's channel, she's been doing the Vlogtober. So you guys have to go. Tiff, everybody type fire in the chat, and then that way your channel goes out there so people can get to your channel. So I saw that I buffered a little bit, but for the most part, thank you everyone for typing fire, because my channel is about growing your channel. You know, it's not about everybody come to my channel and I'm not sending anyone to anyone else's channel and I'm not advertising for anyone else. No, I want everyone here to be successful on YouTube. A lot of you are creators, and I just want you to be successful. Every one of you, in whatever way is success for you, whatever you define as success. For me, it's getting on these lives weekly, even though I'm terrified to be here. It's getting here every single week. That's what I do. And this week, I did not have an agenda. I did not have, something to talk about. Now, next week, maybe. But I'm just settling in this week and trying to get caught up on my grading and getting settled in at this new place with my RV, this piece of land. So I have not had a chance to prepare this live ahead of time like I would normally do. So, and you guys let me know if you like the vertical lives as opposed to the horizontal lives. Put a 1 in the chat real quick. There's my poll question for the day. Put a 1 in the chat if you prefer a vertical live to my horizontal lives, because a lot of you have seen both. If you were here last week, you saw that I did a vertical live for the first time in forever. And oh, well, thank you, Q. Thank you. Because I don't know what I'm doing. So because last week's vertical sitting in my car went well, I said I'll try another vertical this week because one, I don't have a script this week. I have nothing planned to talk about. But I did want you all to get to know me a little bit better. And I think that was the point of this live. And T also says that either one is good. Well, okay, I'm going to take your advice. And I still don't know what to do. I've tried two verticals, and I seem to have more engagement with the verticals than I do with the horizontals. However, the horizontals are going to give me content that I could later use to create more content without actually shooting a video. And so that is repurposing, my content. So, and that may or may not be a good strategy. It's what I was told to do. However, I've never done it, because I don't take time out to go back to my old videos and say, let me clip this, let me clip that, let me clip that. I just don't. I shoot a video on a Wednesday. I try for Wednesday. And then I do my Friday live, and I was only doing once a week. However, to try to get my channel to grow some, I'm now at twice a week. I don't think I'll ever do every day because I'm retired. And I just don't want to do YouTube every single day. I watch YouTube every single day, but I don't want to do YouTube every single day. You guys really should see Julie's channel. She and I have so much in common in sort of our philosophy, on spending money and saving money and enjoying retirement sort of on what we would call a low income. And that's it. I enjoy people that enjoy life without spending a lot of money. That's just it. Now, if you spend a lot of money, that's fine if you've got that money to spend. Because I don't begrudge anybody. Somebody said last week, we'd all love to have a Bentley or a Rolls Royce. I just don't have Bentley and Rolls Royce money. I want one, but I don't have that kind of money. Would I take one if I could afford one? Absolutely. So don't get me wrong, okay? If I had Bentley and Rolls Royce money, I would be driving a Bentley or a Rolls Royce. But that's just not my story. I drive a Honda Accord, and that's what I can afford. And I will say, I made payments on my Honda Accord. So we're sort of running towards the end of the hour, but I make payments on my Honda Accord. My goal is to save up cash to pay cash for my next car. Now, I bought a 2017 Honda Accord. It just happened to be the last year that Honda made a two-door, and mine are always six-cylinder. So I have a two-door, six-cylinder touring model of the Honda Accord. It's their top-of-the-line model. I can't get another two-door Honda, and I only buy two-door cars. Therefore, I now have to go up to a much more expensive vehicle, and we are talking 3 times more than what I paid for my Honda. I want to save up the cash to pay for that vehicle in cash. Do I have that money? No. Do I have other things I need to do first? Yes. So first we pay off debt, and in conjunction with paying off debt, we're going to build an emergency fund. Now, after we have paid off debt, built an emergency fund, now we start saving for cash for a car. Those are just my priorities. And so hopefully my Honda Accord, which has driven me around the country a few times, I'll drive for a month and a half around the country visiting friends in my little Honda Accord and just stay at hotels. I can do that. I can do that. And so, January, Hawaii is coming up. I'm going to Hawaii in January. So if for a couple of weeks you guys don't see me, you'll say, well, he's with The Source, because The Source, his channel, comes out of Maui, Hawaii. And so I'm actually going to Maui for the very first time. It's a dream, Okay, it's a dream in my life to ever go to Hawaii. I always thought I was too poor to go to Hawaii. I did. But I'm doing it now in retirement. I am living my dreams. So if you have dreams, your dreams can come true, but first you have to have a dream in order to make that dream come true. And so I have hit my 60 minutes. So I'm going to sign off because, oh, hi, Marlene. She and Lisa J have a Friday night YouTube that I watch now. I've set my alarm, so I'll be there tonight. And thank you for coming. And so, oh, somebody said that they can't do a two-door. So, oh, Tiff's Take said I had four-door Honda Accord. They are good cars. I can't do a two-door. Yeah, I'm stuck in my adolescence. I am stuck in my adolescence. That's it. You know, a two-door car. Some people, I've never gone four-door, ever. You know, and I'll tell you about my one four-door car, you know, another video. But I've gone past my hour, and I try to keep these to an hour because people have things to do, right? And other people can do a 4-hour live or a 6-hour live. That's just not me. I want to get back to my retirement. I also have to get back to my students. So I have to get back to my life. So I do 1 hour every Friday, 10:15 Central Time. And I know a lot of people are at work, but this was originally because this is when my puppy was in doggy daycare that I picked this time. And so I'm going to stay with it every Friday because I am a person of routine. And my life is in a routine. I pay off debt in a routine. I build wealth in a routine. My life is a routine. And Lisa J talks about this. Be consistent with your stock investing. And just like I'm consistent with my Transfer Tuesdays and putting $50 into my emergency fund, I am going to be consistent with this channel. That's a big deal for me, is consistency. So I'm going to say goodbye. I will see you all next week, I hope, at 10:15 Central Time, 10:15 a.m. Central Time. And what I say at the end of all my videos, because when you come from homeless to financial freedom, right, you never let your past determine your future. Thank you all. Have a great week, and I will see you all next week.